coming up on Seekers of the Eternal podcast with Trev Mental.
Yeah, I just realized that we're on the most juicy timeline ever. To be alive at this time is absolutely the biggest blessing. Obviously, a lot of prophecies have pointed to this time right here, right now, and this awakening that's happening, and the realization that we literally won the lottery in every single moment. The veil was peeled back, and I saw that every single thing in the world, like myself and everything, was made out of blessings. The fabric of life itself is bliss. And it was literally looked like Ganesha's body. Everywhere I looked, my mouth was agape, wide open, and my eyes were wide. And I was just like, I won the lottery. Like we're winning the lottery in every second and actually embodying how that feels. And yeah, that song is like an anthem for positive affirmations and just remembering who we are, Satchit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss.
Support this podcast by visiting the Pale Horse online store, offering high-quality screen-printed apparel and posters featuring deities such as Ganesha, Sri Krishna, Hanuman, Garuda, Mahakala, and more. Visit seekersoftheeternal.com for the online store, and also check out the link for the Patreon community to connect with fellow seekers and gain access to a growing library of exclusive solo-cast episodes and guided visualizations and meditations. Also, go behind the scenes with Pale Horse as he brings to life an in-depth series of oracle deck illustrations based on mystical stories from around the world.
Trev Mental is a rapper who doesn't glorify guns, drugs, alcohol, murder, or treating women like objects. Instead, he glorifies the nobility of the human spirit through conscious lyricism that empowers you and reminds you of your eternal connection to God. Imagine wordplay on the level of Eminem and Lupe Fiasco, but it's conscious and uplifting, and it rewires your brain for success. Based in Salt Lake City, Utah, working with the independent label Get It Right, Trev Mental is open for the likes of Ghostface Killah of the Wu-Tang Clan, Talib Kweli of Black Star, Living Legends, Hieroglyphics, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and more. Trev Mental redefines conscious rap, merging lyricism and meditation in super-volcanoes of spellbinding wordplay. Welcome to the Seekers of the Eternal podcast, Trev Mental.
What's up, Soul Fam? Such a blessing to be here.
Yeah, so good to have you, man. I've been looking forward to this conversation, getting to talk to you. We got to meet about few months ago now at a retreat in South Florida, and we met and just started talking, and we're like, man, we got to get together on a podcast sometime and keep this going, because it just connected so well with you and so many similar things on our journey. And I just love this space of conscious hip hop. And I remember like about 5 years ago, I was dreaming about music like you're writing. I was like, man, in the future, there's going to be people like real yogis, like making hip hop records that are going to be uplifting our consciousness. Like, when is that going to happen? And I started finding artists like Illuminati Congo, and then that led me on this trail. And then I'm finding your work. And yeah, man, it's amazing. I love this idea. I know you talk about it a lot here, this idea that music is medicine. And it was something you had on your Twitter a while back. And man, I like your Twitter. I know nobody's on Twitter anymore. I want to use that. Like, I guess Threads is available now. I want to start writing, but I was liking what you were doing over there. You had this post that you said, if you're going to have lyrics stuck in your head all day, it better be something that helps you grow. You wouldn't water a plant with Pepsi.
Yeah.
What if you could talk about that idea a little bit of music as medicine?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm surprised that you found my Twitter. Whenever I post on there, it's just like crickets. So yeah, I don't know if Twitter's dead or what, but thanks for checking me out on there. But anyways, music being medicine, and that post was inspired by just when I started to realize, like, I wrote myself out of so much darkness. It was like in high school and after high school, I was doing a lot of different substances and selling things that I shouldn't have been selling, and just in a lot of darkness and around a lot of negativity and very dense. But the one cool light in my life was that I had this cool hip hop thing where me and my friends would freestyle in the shed. And actually, this shed, I know people can't listen, can't see it, but it's that shed. Um,
Nice.
yeah, we just started freestyling, and there was one point where I started to realize that everything that I was writing was just kind of dictating my vibe, and that there was something deeper to that. And so it kind of started there, and then I had this crazy breakup that really broke my heart. And like the way that I decided to cope with it was, oh, I'm just gonna go into my own world for like 4 years. I didn't know how long it was gonna be, but it ended up being like 4 years of just writing lyrics. The way that I was gonna cope was to just become like the dopest lyricist of all time. Kind of funny. And that was just the way. And like through that process of just like, oh, I'm gonna be the dopest, like I'll show her or whatever, like it really was like a spiritual awakening along with my lyricism. And so it just went hand in hand. My life started to get better as my lyrics started to get better. And I started to realize that our beliefs, all of our discography as artists is like our book of life. And each song is like a belief or a belief system or a time in our life. And it's even more valuable than like having a journal, to be able to have songs like that. But what's interesting is I would see artists on stage singing songs, and even big artists singing songs from years and years ago, or like when they first got big 5, 10 years ago. And maybe it's about heartbreak or it's about this or that. And I see them on this stage, all of their fans screaming these lyrics, and they're not really that like uplifting or conscious or character building, or it's a lot, and it's good to be able to vent that stuff in order so we can choose something higher. But I personally, my style of music, I don't choose to put out like, I try to be vulnerable in a lot of it, and I am, but ultimately I want to make it something where people are comfortable bumping it and they can feel safe to listen to it. Like it's not going to program them. It's not going to manifest anything that they don't want in their lives, because it really is frequency. And especially when you combine those beliefs with like the emotion in it and the rhythm of it, right? So I've been getting into decrees a lot. And decrees is basically this ancient technology and power, this human technology that we've kind of lost access to. And apparently we used to have this power back in the days of Atlantis and Lemuria, where we could speak things into existence just right there and right then, because of how powerful the vibrations that we're speaking and how tapped in we were on this higher level of consciousness. Just reviving that. It's basically just calling upon the name of God, the I am, and speaking from that place as the son of God, as the sons and daughters of God, knowing it's our birthright to manifest and speak things into existence. And so it's been a long journey with the music medicine. It, went from venting, and I still vent through it a little bit. It went through like affirmations, and now into decrees, which is like all the lyrics that I'm writing now. Maybe not the stuff I'm releasing quite yet, but they're all like decrees, like I am the infinite power of the spoken word made manifest here and now, and I release absolutely anything that is not of my own free will and that I consciously choose. It's been through a long journey of that too. I've had to go through conscious language in order to be empowered in the decrees and the power of the spoken word. So I could talk all day about music medicine and how I think it's the key to transform humanity. But yeah, that's what's coming through right now.
Yeah, man. I love that. It's like I only want to listen to medicine music now, only music that uplifts me, as with a meditation practice of how much we're training our minds and fine-tuning who we are. I'm so conscious about what I'm putting into my brain. So it's amazing to me that there's now, even in the hip hop realm, there is music that can also feed that same vibration of my meditation practice, with albums like yours, music like yours. And this medium, I think, of hip hop is such a powerful tool for that. It empowers you. It gets stuck in your mind. And as this music gets stuck in your mind, I get songs stuck in my mind and it's just dragging me down or putting me in a negative mood. But if it's conscious music that's uplifting, it's just like memorizing an affirmation or having like a really strong meditation practice. It takes a long time to get an affirmation or a mantra, or to chant japa all day. But
Yeah.
through the music, it can seemingly speed up that process of people being able to override habitual thought patterns with now uplifting conscious lyrics. So I love what you're doing with this. To me, it's just something that is so exciting that this is happening. So I'm really interested in how you do it and the way that this comes through, because if you're not familiar with Trev Mental's music, his lyrics and lyricism to flow, it's really, really quite amazing to hear. How does that come through? So you've got a few singles that you've released recently. First one is Above and Beyond. The other one is The Truth with Illuminati Congo and The Essence. Those are your last three singles there. I wonder if maybe you talk a little bit about those releases and maybe some of the ways that the inspiration for that came through, or maybe some of the lyrics through that, or some of the ideas, maybe starting with Above and Beyond. That one is just so motivating for me right now.
Above and Beyond. So just to where it started, I was working at the post office, working a night shift. And it was a huge change for me because, I was used to living kind of like a hippie, and then there was one point where like, okay, I gotta get my stuff together. So I got this job and I was working the night shift. So a lot of that was actually written while I was working. It was cool. I liked the job because I could listen to anything I want in my ears the whole time. So I would just write and I would do affirmations the whole time. And I would listen to really powerful podcasts and books and everything. And this is kind of the process for a lot of my songs. And this is the philosophy as well behind Rhyme School, which is a thing that I do where I help lyricists, develop their craft and become masters at lyricism. Basically, listening itself is infinite creativity. So we just like to search in so many different places, and that's okay. But like, there comes a point where we're like a fish searching for water, and it's just all around us. So it's everything and everything. And we just need to tune into how we feel in this present moment. And yeah, it's like there's a difference between inspiration and information. So inspiration is like when you listen to the silence or you're listening to spirit and you're connected to the breath, you're inspiration. That's why it's called like inspiring when you breathe in. I don't think people use that anymore for that, but the etymology's there. And I think that, inspiration is the only way that you can create something that is truly out of this world. So almost everything I write, there's always at least some inspiration in it. But a lot of it is also information. And they kind of mix as well, but this is just kind of the boxes I like to put them in. But, the information, I'll be listening to a really powerful podcast. I'll be listening to Alan Watts, Terrence McKenna, a bunch of different Joe Rogan stuff, fantasy novels even, and, the Bible. And whenever it's like my mind is like hardwired at this point to look for inspiration in everything. And in every conversation I have and everything I hear, my mind immediately takes it and analyzes it for lyrics or profound messages. And so normally it just starts with like a message or a sentence. It doesn't start with the rhymes. It just starts with like, what do I want to say? Like, what do I actually want to say? Because for so long, I just went based on the rhymes. I was like, what rhymes with this? What rhymes with that? And now I'm like, okay, what do I want to say? And then what rhymes with it? And so that song was like, oh, dude, I was actually, I channel a lot of inner child in my life when I watch certain movies and books that like spark my inner child. And I remember back in middle school, I read Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief and that stuff. And so I was listening to that again at the post office, funny enough. And, I was just talking about Zeus and Poseidon and Athena and stuff. And so I'm like, what if I just like made a song that like had all these references to like this wordplay about Greek gods? Because, Greek gods, like there are gods of a particular thing, like Athena's the god of wisdom, Poseidon's the god of sea. And so like I just started decoding that in my mind and listening. I'm like, okay, the god of sea. And particularly my brain, I look for homophones the most. So basically homophone is just like two things that sound the same but mean different things. It can be multiple words, or it can be the same word or just one word. But yeah, so I just started thinking of, I think the first inspiration for that song started to come from thinking about homophones and wordplay that I could do with Greek gods. And
Mhm.
so it's how I start. I climb heaven and walk through dimensions in God's shoes with the power to electrocute Pikachu and shock Zeus. So I'm like, okay, like what, some cool wordplay. Like Zeus is the god of electricity, lightning, thunder, whatever, the sky. And so I'm like, okay, he's all powerful, whatever. And he has electricity, he has his lightning bolt, but like I got enough power that I could shock Zeus, you know what I'm saying? So just like fun stuff. And then leave Athena dumbfounded, you know what I'm saying? She's the god of wisdom. So it's like, how much wisdom would you have to leave Athena dumbfounded? So that was a couple things. And, you know, just the last thing I want to say about that song is it's just like coming up with the craziest possible thing I could say, the most extreme, like most this paradigm shattering thing I could say. Like I'm a living, breathing metaphor of light, or just like doing the impossible. That was kind of the theme for the song too. How can I just rhyme with a bunch of things that, according to people, are impossible, like walking through dimensions and, you know, like leaving the sun drown and just a bunch of stuff like that. So it really just starts with the concepts, the topic, and then just coming up with just crazy things to say. That's a process for a lot of the songs. So I know I kind of went pretty long on that one.
No, no, I like that. Feel free to go long. I like that, man. It's cool to hear where it comes from because it's like you hear that. And I love the idea of writing and flow and how creativity comes through and just all the different things. I love what we were talking about with listening. That's been something that's been coming up a lot for me is just sitting and listening and recognizing that there's always these clues all around us in the universe trying to bump us, trying to give us the next the next thing that we need for our creative process, for our journey, taking us toward our success and taking us toward wherever we're headed. So just listening, I love that idea. And also a really great point of just being wherever you're at and whatever job that you're in, how can you be filling yourself with motivation and creativity and perhaps, and that's what they say, a lot of music is written in jobs during, dull jobs that people have, or that inspiration just comes during those moments. So I think that's a great thing to share there for like a lot of people that just have regular jobs. You can always be seeing how you could use those and how you could be, making your way to where you're headed through that. So I think that's killer. And I
Yeah.
love that song for that idea of making the impossible real because that's what we're aiming at as artists. I mean, it's pretty audacious for us to think, me here with a podcast or me drawing pictures or whatever it is that this is going to be a sustainable career. You know, we're doing the impossible to make it to be able to support yourself as a musician. That's you have to believe that you can do this impossible thing. And I love music like this because it gets you in that mindset. It's very important to have this vision and to believe that it's possible and to get into that mindset that you can do anything. I saw another video that you posted about waking up in the morning, about the mindset. You would maybe share a little bit about what your mindset is when you wake up in the morning. What do you do to get yourself motivated every day?
Yeah, so it's been a long journey with morning routines. I used to take like 2 hours in the morning, and then it switched to me being like, oh, I got to take action first thing in the morning because I was spending so much time meditating. And there was this one point where I was like, probably like a year or two ago, where I was just like, oh, okay, I'm done with all this spiritual materialism. I don't need to take 2 hours for a morning routine. Like I can just go outside real quick, set my intention for the day, and then get after it, like while my energy's fire. So but then I went from that to recently, like, okay, like these hours in the morning are especially like early morning, like 4 to 6, even like 3 freaking, but I'm sure no one's waking up that early, but it's like some of the most potent time to connect spiritually. And I've been learning that from a few different people that I trust and teachers and elders. So I can't really speak on the math behind that, but or the geometry or the astrology or whatever it is. Yeah, lately, my most profound downloads that I have about morning routines in general is just the tone that you set right when you wake up is everything. So, I'm not perfect. I've been struggling a lot with this, but I know that if I can just wake up in the morning and just be like, oh, okay, today's gonna be such a dope day. Let's go. Let's get it. Okay, I'm gonna go meditate. This is gonna be awesome. I love this. And like you say the things, even though like your body may feel different. And then like once you start saying those things and you get on that train, it just like creates this momentum, especially if you've done it like years prior. Like I said, I was doing like 2 hour morning routines and I was gratitude journaling. I was doing heart meditations, Kriya, yoga, Qigong, all this, so many different types of things. And so I did spend a lot of time wiring those neural pathways. And, according to modern science, which take it with a grain of salt, but because it's always changing, up until your 25th year as a male, your brain is still developing, your brain and your body. And so I've been really trying to go for the last couple of years to wire my brain for that. Because, when you're doing the morning routines and stuff, like it not only makes you have a good day and make you feel good throughout the day, obviously it's healthy, but it's gonna like make morning routines easier in the future, to the point where you may get to a point, and there's been times like this, but I have to still stay consistent. There comes points where you don't even need to do the practice to feel the emotion, because your brain is already wired to feel that particular emotion and those thoughts at that specific time of day. And so if you do it enough, sometimes you don't even have to do it, and you can really start to see how it's affecting the rest of your life, even when you're not doing the practices. So, my mindset is like anything I do in the morning is an investment for my future self. A huge download that I realized was that, I'm going to get more done if I feel good and I feel like I'm in alignment with God. I don't get as much done when I put that on the back burner. So like when I'm more joyful, I tend to get more stuff done anyway. So the point is not to get stuff done. It's to serve God. For a minute, I kind of forgot that I should probably check in with my boss before I go about my day. Not like God is this boss figure, but yeah, it's just all metaphors and analogies.
Yeah, make it all an offering to God, and it's so amazing to do that. Just these little mental flips that we can have of what it is that we're doing. I try to do that as much as possible too when I get up in the morning. So often when I get up right away, I just feel almost the weight of the world or whatever dreams that I was having. And sometimes I feel down and I just got to quickly rewire that and change the story. And it's so good to do that. Or rather than hitting the alarm clock, snooze or whatever, just get up, just get up. And just like you said, it's going to be an incredible day. Having that mindset, having those affirmations. I've been memorizing affirmations and putting those into my brain before I go to bed. And then when I wake up, like the one that I've been doing, one this morning says, within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. And I imagine like Hanuman, like when he had to fly across the ocean to save his friends and he couldn't find the healing plant that he was looking for. He just took all of his energy and he lifted the mountain up off of the ground and flew back over the ocean with it. There's this idea that behind my every act is God's infinite power. And I just love to invoke that feeling, that idea that we are all beings of the divine, and that if we really believe in what we're doing, then we should be able to just call on that power and to know that we'll be successful in it. And so, yeah, I love doing that in the morning too. It's fun to get around other people that like to do this too, and like having an environment. That's why I like putting this podcast out and meeting with friends. And the more that you can get around people that have this kind of a mindset, the more easily you'll start wanting to do it. You think about things like work or putting in a lot of effort into something, but it can become like really fun to be putting in a lot of effort into the thing that you really believe in. And then rather than it being something, it's tough, I think, a lot of times because we see even our heroes that have accomplished all of the great things that they wanted in life, got all of the things that the money that they wanted, the house, the women, all of it, whatever, men or whatever it is. And then at the end, still not happy. So it leaves us severely drained and unmotivated to really do anything in life. But in this way, we're making it an offering to God. Then we're actually gaining the true lasting happiness. And your song here, the essence, that one, which is all talking about bliss. I love that song. There's a lot in there about what bliss really is. And I wonder if you can maybe talk about that song a little bit. That's one that I really enjoy and really brings me up when I listen to it.
Yeah, so The Essence on all platforms by Trev Mental, y'all go check it out. Right after we talk about it, you can go bump it so you can feel the vibes. But yeah, so this song, it was years in the making. I think I made it like 3 years ago. That's the kind of thing with artists is it gets kind of hard when you have so much music, so much inspiration, but you also have to balance it out with that action and be able to put out the song and, actually have effective promotion behind the song. So that song was interesting because I wrote it in a time in my life when I was, I made this whole Instagram. I decided I wanted to be a meditation coach. And I still am interested in that. I love guiding meditations, but it's like I kind of do that with my music, of course. But I was guiding meditations and I was helping people with morning routines and I was spreading information about this stuff. And it was, I even held a couple workshops. It's actually like a 5-day thing. I don't even remember what we called it, but we had like 5 different people come in and teach about bliss and like their different modalities for being able to do what we have to do to create a state of bliss. And so, I created all these bliss exercises like jumping up and down with your hands in the air, say, I love my life. I love my life. Doing that first thing in the morning will get you. Or like hugging yourself and say, I love you, 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 until you feel the love. So there's been many different practices like that that kind of inspired it. But yeah, man, I used to guide meditation classes with my brother Burnell Washburn. I don't know if you know of him, but I'll have to connect you with him because I think you'd really like his music as well. And we have songs together. But me and him would guide these meditation Mondays, and afterwards we would get so blissed out. This was like our ritual. We would guide this meditation, feel really fulfilled after doing this for a bunch of people in person. And then we would get these bliss balls. They were called bliss balls from the apothecary. And they're so good. They just have a bunch of yumminess in them. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. These sweet bliss balls. And we'd start this tantra practice, basically. I don't even know if it's tantra. I don't know anything about tantra, but this is kind of what it felt like, where you're just like, you build it up so much, and like, but before you even eat it, you're already like, like you're already blissed out. And so this was like a whole phase of my life I went through of just milking the gratitude and the bliss out of every moment, and like having that build up in every moment, like getting so excited to do this or do that. And then, you finally take a bite and it's like, oh, I had an experience where I cried. Like I was like, my whole body was just full of bliss. It was actually a couple weeks after Aya ceremony, and I went to my favorite organic raw restaurant called Rawtopia in Utah. If you ever come, you need to check it out. And they have this cheesecake that's so good, and I built it up so much, and I was so sensitive, and I was already just like before I even took a bite, and just like laughing. And then when I took a bite, I almost blacked out. Like I literally like I forgot who I was for a second, where I was, and like I had this rush of bliss come through me, and like after that, I like opened my eyes. It was like probably the most bliss I've ever felt, and like that's saying something. I opened my eyes, and like everyone's looking at me like, "Are you okay?" I was just like, the only way I could describe it was that like it felt like a baby was just born, like the feeling of a baby being born. I don't know why, but yeah, so this is just a lot of like what inspired that time in my life. And just the whole journey of realizing like, yo, the universe is on my side. The universe wants what's best for me. God wants what's best for me. And, it's not me against the world, and I'm not a lone wolf in this. We like to take these mindsets, but, truly, the better it gets, the better it gets. And, the nature of our soul is bliss. And, that's not to discount all of the suffering that we all experience all across the world. And, there is no but after that. It's like, no, that is real. That exists. That's just as real. But is it as real as the bliss of God? Yogananda talks about how it's all a show, it's all a play, while being careful to not spiritually bypass, seeing the truth in that, seeing that how can we develop this sense of equanimity and this inner bliss in life, no matter what, so we can automatically turn to God with our problems and with all of our suffering, and just know that it's for a good reason, and it's always going to contribute to our fulfillment. And yeah, I just realized that we're on the most juicy timeline ever. To be alive at this time is absolutely like the biggest blessing. And I don't, I could talk about this for a while, but obviously a lot of prophecies have pointed to this time right here, right now, and this awakening that's happening. And so just the realization of that, and the realization that we literally won the lottery in every single moment. I had a whole Aya ceremony that was centered around this. Like I was trying to manifest winning the lottery with this Aya ceremony, and I had this lottery ticket, and I knew I could do it, but Spirit wanted to bless me with something even more valuable. So basically the veil was peeled back, and I saw that every single thing in the world, like myself and everything, was made out of blessings. Like the fabric of life itself is bliss. And it was literally looked like Ganesha's body, like the tapestry behind you. Like it was like it was all this huge being, and it was I don't know, like it just felt like I was everywhere I looked. My mouth was agape, wide open, and my eyes were wide, and I was just like, I won the lottery. Like we're winning the lottery in every second, and actually embodying how that feels. And so that song was just trying to put all that into one song. I have a couple more songs that describe that, but yeah, that was a blessing, that song. Get the community involved in it. Had a bunch of people speaking what bliss is to them, what the essence of humanity is to them. And yeah, that song is like an anthem for, positive affirmations and just remembering who we are, Satchit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. So.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that with the idea of combining it with the sensory experience with the food and really appreciating that as well. That's a really interesting technique for, experiencing food in a new way and really appreciating that. I love hearing that you're guiding meditations as well. I have to drop in for some time. Maybe you have to guide me on one. That'd be fun. I know that that's the same experience that I had. Once I realized from my practice and my connection with Yogananda that I can experience bliss every single day of my life. I just have to do it. I just have to do it. No matter what I'm going through, I can tune into that is always flowing, always available. It is just my distractions or the veil that I'm putting up in front of it, and that God wants me to feel bliss. This is why He created me. It's there. It's always available, and it's my duty to connect the circuit to feel that. And so, yeah, I wanted to start sharing that too with everybody. So it's like you immediately like, all right, I want to share this in whatever ways that I can, through art, through meditations, through with you, through music and all of this. So yeah, it's something that we can all do, and a superpower that we have as human beings to be able to connect with Satchidananda. Yeah, and as Yogananda says, it's ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. And the plant medicine ceremonies teach us how to feel that, allow that veil to be thin so that we can experience that, and then to recognize that that doesn't have to be just something that you feel in plant medicine. You can have it whenever you really dive in and ask for it. And I like what you said about the going through struggles. And I've come to that realization too, that even the hard things, maybe even especially the hard things, are blessings. Because every time that I look back, every time I go through it, not wanting it to happen, and then it happens, and then I look back and I'm like, I learned so much through that. And I am such a different, better person because of it. And if I can just stay calm and watch it like a good movie, and then it's okay. Even the toughest thing that I'm going through is gonna be okay because it's here, as Yogananda says, not to crush you, but to strengthen your powers. And so I'm just doing my best to stay calm when the thing that I didn't want to happen happens. And then to know that in the future I'm gonna realize that was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Yeah, and to take that to the extreme, I've been really getting into learning about the story of Christ, the medicine of that, and what he had to experience is probably like the worst thing that could ever happen. And he really showed his humanity in that. He didn't just like take it like a champ, like of course he did, but he was human, and even Christ, said, "Why has he forsaken me?" And if it's possible, God, let this cup pass for me, but nevertheless, your will, not my will. And so just trusting in that and trusting in God when things aren't going right. Once you establish that, and especially when, I found through Christ and just remembering the story and having that energy, it's the energy transmutes very quickly. You feel it all and you're like, oh, and then just like, I don't know, the other day this happened and like this took this huge financial hit. I was like, oh, okay, dang, it was all this for nothing. Like I'm farther back than I was, this and that. And then I just kind of let it all flow. And then there was one moment that like the sun peeked through the window in a special way and hit me. And I was like, ah, okay, yeah, we're good. And then just like this knowing, so I think that staying calm is a safe space for the emotions to flow through. So yeah, any chance I can get to talk about Christ, it's like the most interesting thing to me and the thing I love the most right now. So I just felt called to add that.
Yeah, man, I agree with that. I feel that too. I get a lot of Christ visions in deep spiritual experiences too, and what that meant to do that and to demonstrate that for us, that's possible, just in the way that there's a lot of examples across the great yogis that can endure things that we would see as impossible to endure. Or you see the Tibetan monk who lit himself on fire, or the idea of the other story of the Tibetan monk who's standing in front of the Chinese emperor, who's saying, "Don't you know who I am? I could run this sword through you without blinking an eye." And he says, "Don't you know who I am? I could have you run that sword through me without me blinking an eye." And
Savage, bro.
yeah, that just like that power that we have, we're not these bodies. We're not these, we can actually transcend that and go beyond that, and we can do that as well in our daily lives. We can recognize that this is just God's movie. I find myself praying and saying when I'm going through something difficult, or when I don't know where things are headed, and just wanting to offer my independent human will, as Yogananda says. I want my independent human will and the divine will to become one. And I just pray, God, make this a beautiful dream. Make this a good movie. It can have ups and downs. That's okay. But just make it a beautiful movie and make me a good actor that people like to watch and enjoy. And I'm not an asshole,
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know when I declared that I'm on the most juicy timeline ever, little did I know that didn't mean it was going to be all sunshine and rainbows.
Right. Yeah. In
So
order
this
for it
movie,
to be a good movie, right? It has to
drama.
have changes in the plot.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Yeah, the drama of life, man. And you just like, if you push away the pain and cling to the pleasure, life is gonna slap you in the face with pain. But you don't want to cling to the pain either, because we tend to do that. We get really hard and, oh yeah, I'm gonna take this ice bath. I'm gonna work out for 4 hours. I'm gonna work all day, blah blah blah, all this, and it's like sometimes that actually works and life slaps you in the face with the bliss. But ultimately we want to not grab onto anything.
Yeah. Balance of the two, not attached to either one. Like sleep is okay, no sleep is okay. Food is okay, no food is okay. Yeah, all these kind of things. It's like uh, not getting attached to any of them allows us to ride the silver linings through life and to be able to enjoy all the ups and the downs. And I've been something that's been helping me a lot lately. I've been getting into, I mean, for a long time, I've always enjoyed synchronistic events and following the clues. And recently I found an author that a friend sent me the link. He was on Joe Rogan recently, a guy named Rizwan Virk. And before I heard that, I was actually praying in my meditation saying, back when I first got on the spiritual path, I remember myself feeling like I was on a treasure hunt, and I was following this to the next, and it was so exuberating, and I was like so feeling just connected, and it was magical. I was like, I feel like I don't have that childlike enthusiasm right now, and I was praying for that, and somebody sent me like a couple hours after a link to that, and I realized this guy Rizwan Virk is at MIT computer scientist. He's an tech entrepreneur, author, and he also teaches courses at a university around simulation hypothesis. And that he actually had also wrote a book that was commentary on autobiography of a yogi. And so I was really interested in what he was talking about. And he also wrote another book called Treasure Hunt, where systematically he shows you, and he's a guy who has had giant companies. He actually is one that was a investor, beginner, founder of Discord and some other big video games and all of this. Like a lot of things that he's done have been very profitable and done very well. And he talks about how he's been doing this is following synchronicities and treating his day, everything in life, like it's trying to show him clues. And so he's shown how, because we all do this. We all talk about synchronicities and these different clues or things that come to us that maybe make no sense to anybody else. But in my mind, that was a clue, and then you follow it. So he started putting it into this way where you can follow it and he teaches CEOs and business people and meditators, all these kind of people, how to do it. I was wondering if synchronicities and following clues plays a role in your life.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, I resonate with that a ton because yeah, well, I was at the post office. I listened to all of Celestine Prophecy. And so that was like a big part of that. I've always known about synchronicities, but like I never really read anything too deep on it. But like the hypothesis of that book is that, or one of the parts of that book is that the synchronicities are basically the way humanity evolves. It's like our spiritual evolution happens through synchronicities. And so I really love that. And yeah, bro, synchronicities have always definitely played a part in the development of my career. And I genuinely want to learn more about it. And I'm probably going to read that book. And I think it's very interesting tying the simulation theory with the synchronicities. Like those are just like side quests or like I don't know what you would call it, but it's like, yeah, I would need to get that book because that would be like my map if this is a video game. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, thanks for sharing that. My lover is huge on synchronicities. That's like how we met. She came to my meditation class. Like she happened, even though she doesn't even live in Utah, she just happened to come, and that was like 4 years ago. And she came in my life, and she does this thing called trust centered travel, where she takes people on group guided experiences to different places around the world. And they're basically guided by the synchronicities and go stay with this person that leads to that. And then this, and then they end up doing this workshop with this amazing person at this mansion, or, just like all these synchronicities that lead to awesome things. So I'm still a student of all that. and I'm about to go on tour actually. I quit my job and I really, I've been connecting to Christ lately. So I'm really intending to keep that the synchronicity strong in my field and the knowledge of them because I'm going to need them because I'm about to go on a super big adventure. So
Oh, congratulations on taking that leap.
thanks, bro.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Cool. I'll be sending you lots of energy for success on that tour. Yeah, man, I think you'll really dig this book. I'm sharing it with everybody that I know because I want friends to be doing this so that we can talk about it and
Yeah.
follow this because it's all of these things that I've been studying for a long time, but I've never seen anybody put it into here's the rules of how it works and here's all these examples of other people that have done it like this and how it's happened for them. And so it's really put into this incredible system. And I can just see how that would work so well of keeping a clue book where you see something, maybe you've been thinking about it, and then you see something in the physical world. So, okay, it's repeating, making a clue, or maybe it made you feel a certain way. You don't know why, but so you just make a note of it. And then if it's something too that the universe is trying to get your attention, don't even worry if as long as you're honoring it, you're making note of it, you're making a mental note or writing it down, it will show up again. It will keep calling to you over time. And he's got all of these rules for following it and putting it into practice that I just find so incredible because I want to, and I know as what the sages and saints have all been telling us for thousands of years, that we're living in an illusion. Yogananda would say a movie. And Rizwan Virk in his book on autobiography of a yogi was saying, and this is what I was saying a lot to friends, that if Yogananda were writing his books today, he would have the metaphor of a virtual reality multiplayer online video game reference. He wouldn't have to just use movie. He would say we're in a video game. And now with virtual reality, we can imagine movies that are interactive. And it's so much like what we're in our life right now, or just in a virtual video game dream reality. I love that idea. It drops me into the present moment when I think about it.
Yeah, it almost like makes you have this zest for life too, where you're just like, because life can get very dark and kind of feel like, why am I here? Like what? Like, but obviously, this is a golden opportunity to be here, especially in this life, in this incarnation at this time. This is like the dopest video game ever made. Like this is the greatest story ever told, the fulfillment of and the extension of the Bible and all these other texts that we are living in this present moment. And there's so much purpose in that. And like my prayer is that people wake up to see that and realize that this is a very small window of time that we have, and it's so valuable. Like, there's probably nothing in the universe as valuable as being alive at this particular time. I have a feeling that there's lines of like millions of souls wanting to come here because I think what's happening here is very interesting. I feel like it's very unique, and I think it's the most juicy part of all of the humanity story. And so we're getting to that final boss. And the cool thing is the game developer really gave us quite the paradox with this last level here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I see that too. That's what's so fun once you start to develop and have this mindset around it. Not to say, like, okay, yes, we're in a time of upheaval. Yes, can be very scary time, but if we are recognizing that this is not random, this life isn't just random where just things happen to you randomly, that we can be in a symbiotic relationship with this universe around us. The scriptures and Yogananda calls it the Divine Mother. We're her children. And when we're in symbiotic relationship with that universe around us, we can get into that flow and we can recognize that our mother loves us. We can listen to the clues and we can follow it and stay under her care. We can also go ahead on our own and say, we've got this and we don't need her, and we can go out and do it on our own. And then you're on your own. You have free will. You can do whatever you want in this world. But I feel like that's when it gets scary, when you're just saying, oh, I got this all on my own. I don't need any divine help. But when we're actually in tune with it and we're looking for that divine help and we're listening, like what you were saying, is we're listening and we're finding those little clues that are taking us from one step to the next. And that way we can be like Jedis going through really difficult, sketchy situations with confidence, like you going on tour.
Yeah, it's pretty intimidating. Have you ever read Don Juan or Carlos Castaneda books?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, it just kind of reminds me of Don Juan, like the way that he lives, and and also reminiscent of Christ said in the Bible. He was talking to Nicodemus, which was one of the Pharisees at the time, who basically believed a bunch of different things than what Christ was saying, but Nicodemus could feel the truth and saw the works and the miracles, so he knew that he was speaking the truth. And basically Christ, he was like, said something about the wind. The wind, like, we don't know where it's coming from or where it's going. And Christ said that is the nature of someone who's reborn in the spirit. And I think that just really hit me. And a lot of these yogis and these saints who are just like enlightened, or whatever you want to call it, on a higher level of consciousness, different states of consciousness, it seems like a lot of them, like there's a common thread where they're just like, I've heard so many different speakers talk about this, but walking the line between free will and destiny in every moment. And yeah, it's just crazy. It's just so beautiful how we can be reborn in the present moment, and we don't need to like use cheat codes. Yeah, man, I don't know.
No, I feel you on that. It's making me think about in this world, we see a lot, say like the vibe on Instagram, social media right now. I see a lot of people maybe like leaving that, or not being interested in anymore. It's really hard. It's really, really hard right now to get anybody's attention. You could have the dopest art, music, all of this, and it's so hard to get people's attention. It's never been easier to make art in the world and to do what you want to do, but it's the hardest time in the world to get anybody's attention on it. And that can be so debilitating for a lot of artists, like there's a lot of people that are getting discouraged and upset and fears about the future and all of that. I know that when we're doing what we're meant to be doing, when we believe in what we're doing, and we're following what wants to happen in our life. Like, I love Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. This idea that if you're on your own journey, what's impossible for others becomes possible for you. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says, what anybody else is doing in the world, that if you are doing what you know that you're meant to be doing, and if you have faith in what you're doing, just like that idea that if you have faith in what you're doing, you can move mountains like Hanuman. And getting up every day and stoking that fire, doing those practices, writing things that come from your heart that you're doing for a good reason, all of that, I know it will take you to where you're meant to be going. So taking that leap of going on tour, quitting the job, I know that must not have been an easy decision to make with everything. How did you come to take that leap?
Well, there was a couple synchronicities now that you mention it. One of the small things was I was just like at work, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, like quitting, and I'm like, because it just didn't feel good for my health. And I know the health is the most important thing. So there's a lot of that behind it. But yeah, I was like, on the back of this like mail card, someone wrote in Sharpie, "Live your dream." And I just like happened to see that randomly. And it was at the exact moment where I was thinking about it, and it just like showed up, boom. And I was like, whoa, okay. And it's so hard. I was so attached to the money I was making from it, but it really didn't get me anywhere. Maybe it's because I suck at budgeting and I suck at sticking to a budget and everything like that. But, you know, it kind of felt like I swam upstream really hard, really fast for a long time, like for a year, and it didn't really get me anything. So that was, it's hard, but you know, I gained so much and I learned so much, and there's never any energy wasted. But yeah, and you know, I knew that I wanted to go on tour, and I was supposed to save up money for that and like have all these goals done for that. But I was not good at budgeting, and I just realized like I'm either it's like now or never. So I have been making these like mini scrolls of wisdom. And I've had this idea probably like 4 years ago where I was like stressing about money, and I was like, what if I could just do like if I could do anything, what would it be? Like if I could genuinely do anything. And in my mind, I was like, could I just like sell boxes of wisdom to people? Like that's what I want to do. Like and and then the idea kept developing into these scrolls. And so basically I just made a bunch of them. I have like, I don't know, probably like 500, but they're pretty easy to make. So I'm taking those on tour with me, and I got this really cool sign, all these scrolls of wisdom. And so that's a dream that I've had for years that I've just been procrastinating. Like I know I'm meant to go out and speak and bring wisdom, and been like, once I do this, once I do that, once I do this, I just like I cannot let this opportunity be passed up. Like my logical brain just wants to be like, okay, once you have all your finances figured out and it's like everything's like this, you get all your ducks in a row, then you can go live your dream and do this. And you know, that works for a lot of people, and I think it's very important to take action and to, you know, make sure that I don't think there's that much virtue in being poor and powerless. And I think that it's important to make money and to be powerful in the world, especially if you're a good person, because we need people who are in alignment with spirit to have more of the money in order to allocate it to more abundant causes and things that are of God. But you know, all those belief systems that I'm just speaking to you now are just kind of collapsing away, and just personally me tuning into like what makes me happy and what I need to do. And I have a calling to just go. And it's hard because I have this relationship, and she's like, what's going on? Like, you're just gonna go. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm at a point where I just don't know anything except for that I'm meant to go on this journey, you know, just kind of let the boat go out onto the water and then figure it out from there. And I just can't ignore it anymore, bro. It's just like, it doesn't matter how much money I have. It really doesn't. Like, I could have all the money in the world, like we were talking about, and I could still not feel fulfilled or in alignment with God's will. Like, what makes me feel the most fulfilled is when I hear God's voice and He has something for me, and I rise to that occasion, and I'm living in God's will. And I just, you know, I wasn't really doing that at the post office. So it just became a voice that I couldn't ignore anymore.
Man, well, congratulations on taking that leap. It's time to do it, man. I think I think that's going to be just however it goes, it's going to be an amazing journey for you, and you're going to get so much out of it and learn and grow and share your medicine with so many people. And I think what you're doing is such an incredible thing that is so, I think, important. The type of thing that you're doing, it's a hard thing to do because you don't have the ability to just captivate people on their vices, which is what most people are rapping about for a party. You know, it's like a low hanging fruit that people are grabbing for, is that those lyrics that just feed on people's lowest version of them. But then when you show up and I imagine the shows that you're playing, what do they usually look like? What kind of venues do you play for? What kind of crowds and things like that show up?
Well, it's definitely more people who are open to it. You know,
Mhm.
I do some like reggae festivals, some EDM festivals, even some that are just for like conscious hip hop and just like conscious festivals in general. So it's really good. People are more open to it. But, you know, I've been reading the Bible a lot, and, you know, there's a reason that Christ hung out with tax collectors and sinners. And so that's what's really intimidating to me. Like it actually feels still pretty comfortable to go rock all these shows all on the West Coast, perform for all these people that I know are gonna like my stuff. But like it's a whole nother thing that I know I need to do to just go and do it in a place I don't know with people who aren't going to receive it and just do that because it's like the physician doesn't hang out with healthy people. He hangs out with the sick people. And like I have a gift to give. And I think everybody has this soul medicine. Like someone out there is praying for my song right now. And I'm like letting them down because I'm sitting here selfish in this job. Oh, once I get all my stuff, then I'll go serve God. It's like, no, like I need to humble myself. And there's someone out there who needs what I have to say. It's going to save someone's life. And so I just got to go. I'm just going to go, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. That's what I was thinking too. Is just that if people showed up and they're used to hearing mainstream hip hop lyrics and things, and then you show up and they hadn't heard of you before, how much of an impact that could make on their night, their day, their life. That, I've never even heard anything like this before, and it sets them on a whole new journey. Like you said, that could have been their synchronicity of that night of hearing this, and then that leads them to the next thing. Your music is such a bridge, that way of just being able to bridge the gap for people. So that's why I think it's so important too that you're on this quest to do that and go spread that medicine. And that way, I support that too, man. Just going into those places where people didn't expect to hear it. I saw on Instagram, been putting out some videos where people just show up and put on headphones and sit down with you and hear your music and the reactions to that. How's that been for you? Just turning people on that aren't familiar with you.
I love it. I've been wanting to do that for a while too, but it's become like a time of just overcoming limitations and just doing it and just not letting my mind say anything. But yeah, it's been super fun. And yesterday I went and sold scrolls for the first time, same place that I did that. Had people sit down with the headphones. Yeah, like I had like mystical experience talking to these people who like and just watching people walk by, like they look at the sign, oh, scrolls of wisdom, and like they they're like, oh, I already know enough, and so they walk away, or that just doesn't interest them, and I'm like, it's like kind of this cosmic joke where I'm like, it's kind of funny how like God in disguise is selling scrolls of wisdom to other gods in disguise to get them to remember that we are God in disguise. And so, yeah, and then just like watching the people that would come up to me and actually talk to me and get the scrolls, um, or the people who would sit down and put on the headphones, like, why would they do that? And like kind of having a conversation with them about that, like what intrigued you about it. And yeah, I've just met some really beautiful souls, and your vibe, as cliche it is like your vibe attracts your tribe, and so just showing up on that vibration led to some just very, very beautiful connections. And this last thing about that, there was this kid that he kept grabbing little scrolls of wisdom and going to showing his friend, and he would read it, and he's a very tiny toddler, like so cute, and he'd run back and like put the scroll back and pick up another one and then go show his friend. And every time he'd pick up a new scroll, he'd be like, thank you for showing us. And then would go and then it would come back and get another, thank you for showing us, and just kept doing that. And it was like this whole trippy experience I had where I was like, wow, like well, this is God's work. Like, what is more fulfilling than this? Like, nothing. So it's been awesome, bro.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's so cool being able to connect with people in that way of just like putting out those good things and then allow and just yeah, I see it's like you see people lightening up and cheering up. They didn't expect that. It's a beautiful thing, man. So yeah, I fully support you on this and spreading this and getting it in front of more people. And I know that I don't know if we were talking a little bit before the podcast about casting spells with your lyrics, that this is really what hip hop is. Well, I would love to hear a little bit about your ideas around that idea of using words in that way.
Yeah, well, it's been said by a lot of different people, but it's called spelling for a reason. We're casting spells, and abracadabra means as I speak, so I create. And this ancient technology of from Lumeria, of course. And really, it's just like conscious language and just remembering that everything that we speak is like every time we say I, we are calling upon the name of God. Every single time we say I am. And, that's a message I intend to carry on my journey with me as I go, is like the power of the spoken word, knowing that every time, like we are praying all the time. And especially like, people don't know this either, but like when we're smoking, ancestors use the smoke to cast spells, to send prayers, and the smoke would rise up to the heavens, to the Father, and that's how they would send the prayers off. And so, and I think people don't realize how powerful burning plants is for casting spells or whatever, but just that we have this instrument that can create vibration, and the spell really is from when you have an intention or a thought and an emotion feeling, and you combine those into one, it creates an electromagnetic frequency, because thoughts are electric, feelings are magnetic. And when you combine them, it creates an electromagnetic frequency. And as many of us know, we live in an electromagnetic energy field, this quantum reality. And so literally every time, like if we can just close our eyes and just imagine when we speak something that we believe and that has emotion behind it, or we sing a lyric, or we proclaim something like, wow, I love my life. Like when you say that, you can feel like you just created something. Like this thought and this feeling, when you combine it and you speak it, it's like we can't see it. I mean, some people can see it, but like we are just constantly sending off like rockets of desire, as Abraham Hicks would call it, and also things that we don't want. Like I think demons are just like demands, is it demons or demons? Rather than like commands, or rather than like decrees. Like with the I am, you're like you are making the self God and declaring things that you don't want. So I've heard people say that like demons are spells that we've casted that we haven't reversed. Something we said, something we believe. Or maybe it's not even us who believes it. Like I think that's partly where generational curses come in, is there was some agreement that was made, things happen in our life, and maybe we thought something happened to us, and in order to shield ourselves from that, we created a story to so we didn't have to feel it, so we could so we could keep the energy knotted in our bodies rather than feeling it all and letting it go. And those energetic knots in our bodies come from different beliefs and spells that we've casted. It may even be a great, great, great grandmother, who was in the Holocaust or something, like stuff that we like, stuff from there. Or like, in my lineage, like what I'm breaking right now is the whole idea of like, oh, like to be the greatest of all time at something, you have to like sacrifice absolutely everything. And I was at that point where I was sacrificing everything to be the greatest. And I realized that I was serving, what they would call the devil. I just call the self or the ego rather than God. And yeah, just, it's our responsibility. It's our ability to respond and create stories that are actually conscious rather than just repeated throughout generations and generations. That's our responsibility. So, yeah, a lot to say on the spell casting, but I love seeing it like from the inner child perspective. Like, yeah, we're all just wizards, like casting spells, and like this tongue is our wand, and it's like we can get creative and fun with it. So.
Yeah, I love that. It's something that we don't realize that we have, and it really is that combination with the feeling of the real belief that we do it. And the more that we do it, just in the same way of affirmations, the more that we do it over and over, the more you can get a sense of that feeling of it and really believing it and putting that in. I noticed when we first start doing affirmations, it first can sound just like this is
Fake.
real. Yeah, this is. And then over time, the more that you do it, and continue, you start to get a little sense of what, oh, okay, there's something to it. There's something to it. And it doesn't just happen overnight. You don't just do it once. Like you were mentioning that some of these great masters in one time, they just demand to the universe what it is that they decree, and then that becomes reality. That is all something that we are all capable of. We're just so used to not doing that. We're so used to not having that as our reality that it takes a lot of practice to wear down that delusion that we are. Like I love how Yogananda would say that you don't go to sleep to recharge your body. You can recharge your body with yoga, with energization exercises, with all these different things. And he would say you go to sleep to remember that you're all gods. Because in dreams, if you wake up in your dream, or if you're in a dream, just immediately what your desire is your reality. Your thoughts become realized in the dream world around you, and that's what all the great sages have been telling us, is that you can also wake up in this, what they call the physical world. And so the more that we practice it, and so knowing about this, you practicing it with every day, you're writing, with performing it, with sharing it with others, making that a reality. So I'm no doubts that you're going to make these things into a reality. I can feel that through you. And I could tell that just from the first time I met you, that you're going to make this happen, that it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or says or whatever, that this is a difficult road ahead of you, that you're going to make this happen. I can tell that from you, no doubt.
Thank you, bro. Oh, I appreciate you holding me accountable in that, and seeing the light in me, bro. Because it's hard. Like I have people around me who are like think that I'm Peter Pan, think that I'm spiritually bypassing right now and just trying to escape, and it's not that. It's like this is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do, especially because I'm like leaving everything behind. But yeah, it's like I said, it's our responsibility. And I love what you said about like how we wake up to remember that, or we go to sleep to remember that we're gods. And we wake up from the subconscious to the conscious, and obviously as above, so below. So like we're gonna wake up from the conscious to something higher. And that is so exciting. That is so exciting. And, just knowing that we can perform miracles. Um, and not that we can, but that God can through us. So may that be the prayer for like anyone listening at this moment. That like, if we are in connection with what the universe wants and what God wants at God's will, there's nothing we can't do. And so we got to do that to unlock Super Mario mode, where he becomes a star and runs around all invincible in the video game or whatever. That's God's light. It's God's light.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. Well, man, it's been such a pleasure getting to hang out with you and to chat with you. So you're going to be going on tour. Is that tour set? Is there dates for that coming up?
Yeah, so there's a few dates in Utah, but yeah, basically starts on June 28th here in Utah, and then I'm actually going to Pennsylvania, and then I'm going to Arizona, California, Colorado, and back to Utah. So there's going to be that, but I'm just hoping that spirals into more things, and maybe I take my car and just go across the US and just go to a bunch of different events and just go and camp in nature. You know what I'm saying? There's not much that I need. Yeah, probably coming to your city, whoever's listening. So hit me up. I'll be there.
Awesome. And what are some of the best ways, man, for people to be able to connect with you and follow your journey? I know that in the things that you're sharing a lot, what is your vision of ways that people can connect with you? I know you've got a Patreon page started as well. I started one of those too. I saw that as a way. I feel like there's so much potential in that. Like I know, like I wanna connect deeper with my audience and be able to be putting out things where people are ready to connect on deeper levels. And I feel like that's that you're doing as well. Maybe some thoughts about like your vision of the way that you want to connect with your audience here and ways that they can then keep up with what you're doing.
Yeah, so that was really insightful for me to just like have the intention to connect with them more. In the past, a lot of it has been like, how am I going to make a living from this stuff? But to put it in that context makes it feel a lot better and makes me feel more worthy. So yeah, I think I'm going to probably keep going hard on Patreon. I know that they have Instagram channels. I might start one of those. But I do have the Patreon, and we have monthly fires here in Utah. So yeah, but mostly if you guys want to connect with me, there's going to be a lot of things like that, and probably start guiding meditations again too, now that I'm inspired. But Instagram at TrevMental Rap. And then we got TikTok at Trev Mental. Basically all music platforms under Trev Mental in all caps. And on Apple Music, they still haven't changed it, so it's still T-Mental on Apple Music. But yeah, connect with me on Instagram. I'm really good about replying to DMs there. We'll get into it.
Nice, man. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we finally got to get together and have this conversation, man. I'm super inspired watching your journey. It's fun connecting with you, and I feel like us as artists, we got to stick together, inspire each other, and see what each other are doing, and find all the ways that you're making what you do come into reality. It's awesome to see that, and I'm so glad that you're taking the leap and going on tour. And thanks for sharing all of this with the listeners. And I wanted to just end our time together here. I always like to leave with some words from Yogananda's teachings. This is actually some words from Swami Kriyananda, direct disciple of Yogananda. This is based on the affirmation that I've been using regularly here to help me on my journey. This is around energy. He says, "Energy is ours not when we hoard our strength, but when we devote it willingly, joyously toward the attainment of that which we deeply believe. Faith and energy go hand in hand. If you have deep faith in what you are doing, you can move mountains. Energy is always highest when one's cause is just. The greater one's faith, the greater his willpower. And the greater his willpower, the greater his flow of energy. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power." Om. Blessings, everyone. Joy to everyone. And we'll see you again next time.
I love y'all. I needed that quote, bro. Yeah, dude, that was like the missing key, bro, that I needed. Was like, why am I even scared if I know I'm in alignment with God and I know it's what I'm meant to be doing? Like, okay, let's go. Like, let's go. I'm stoked now.
I climb heaven and walk through dimensions in God's shoes with the power to electrocute Pikachu and shock Zeus. I put sight in Poseidon, and that's something that you gotta see. I'm the god of seed, so don't mistake evolution for evil illusions. You can't force nature to grow, that's evolution. I exit out of hell every time that I exhale, inhale the divine every time that I inhale. I'm telling tales until my intel excels. It's a telltale sign, I breathe life into my cells. I push bliss itself, you can see what I sell. It's the ocean of God, it's the only sea that I sell. Well, I will prevail, rep the veil, never fail, I will dwell. Life is a circle, no need to reinvent the wheel. Ain't no mountain, I won't scale. My scale so high, it's not on the scale. For real, making the impossible it's real. It's a TREVMental, we keep it real. Making the impossible real. On the for real. Going above and beyond. Yeah, going above and beyond, above and beyond. Going above and beyond, above and beyond. I'm a living, breathing metaphor of life. Smoking ganja, but infinite sight. Walking, talking, double entendre of life. My brain globe is gorgeous, I shine. Ain't no distortion inside. Create golden volcanoes of dopeness in my mind. Infinite fountains of knowledge that'll leave the sun drowning. The wits dumbfounded, left Athena dumbfounded. My mind stay fly spaceships through God's gate. It's beyond space and time, and the time it takes for your eyes to dilate. Ain't gotta complicate it, stop at the games. I'm gonna straight hop in the ring. I gotta straight hop in the gate. I be the king, y'all better get out the way. Better when I vibe in the pain. Put a bit of Eminem and the top of my game. I'm possible. I just changed what impossible means. I spit flames who harder than me. Priming diamonds who harder than me. Who higher than me? A mountain to me. Everest ain't even a mountain to me. Shooting arenas with musical superhuman uniqueness. Like Buddha and Jesus, I choose to speak this beautiful genius. Yeah, going above and beyond. Yeah, going above and beyond, with the infinite love of God. Yeah, going above and beyond, The levels I beyond. Going above and beyond, making the impossible real. Going above on the for real.
Trev Mental.